Welcome back to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good in our community. And this time we're taking a global approach. We're talking about human trafficking. We are joined by Lacy Tolar. She's the co-founder of Rescue One Global, and also Jonathan Williams, who's the board president of Rescue One Global. And so Rescue One Global is the topic. Let's dive on in. How are you two doing?
We're doing great.
Doing awesome, Jeremy.
Let's start out, Lacy, on your end, because this is a personal journey, a personal mission. Give us a little bit of your backstory, and then we'll dive into the organization and everything that you're doing to power the good. So give us a little bit of your personal storyline, though.
Okay, well, thanks for having us. We're glad to be with you. And my story starts about 13 years ago. My family moved from Nashville. We were born and raised. I was born and raised in South Nashville. My husband was born and raised in Franklin. And we left our comfortable place here in Middle Tennessee and moved to the other side of the world. And we started to do humanitarian work, work in orphanages and teaching in schools, and helping with some church planting and things like that missionally. And it was at that point in time, our then 9-year-old daughter was attempted to be abducted and trafficked while we were there on the mission field, trying to serve the community and help them out. And so we had to make a choice at that point in our life. First of all, we had to figure out, what is human trafficking? What is this thing that we have encountered? And then secondly, what do we do about it? Or what should we do about it? And so first of all, when we began to study and research, we realized, wow, this thing is massive. And if you remember, if you think really hard, this is not a topic that's been talked about for a very, very long time. Like, it's kind of a newer thing for people to understand it. And so 12, 13 years ago, we couldn't find people to help us understand it. So we had to do a lot of root searching ourselves and finding. And then it led us to the second thing. Oh, wow, there's not very many people doing anything about this, especially those of us in that faith-based community, and those of us that were really working hard to help the world. And so that's where we started, and we dove in Asia. And after about a year and a half, we moved back home to Nashville for a short period of time. At least we thought it was going to be a short period of time. And that's where someone here locally had only been on the ground trying to figure out human trafficking right here in Tennessee for that period of time. And so she said, hey, let me tell you about what's going on here. So it brought it from just being in this third world country where we were at, to right here in our own backyard, to the people that we loved, the community that we grew up in, and the community that we wanted to raise our families in. And we thought, wow, again, nobody here was doing anything about it. So that's how we really got started.
Unfortunately, human trafficking is a global issue that is pervasive. And when you look at, what human trafficking is, the reasons for human trafficking, so much of it is economic, sadly,
right.
And how you combat it. And so talk about how you define human trafficking and kind of the problem that we're looking at both internationally and then obviously locally. Like, how bad is it?
Right. So according to the International Labor Organization, so that global organization that looks at businesses around the world, it's about a 40+ million people group that are enslaved today while you and I sit here and have this interview. And that's the lowest end of the estimate. We've heard estimates upwards in the 150 billion people range. And again, it is about the greed. It's about money. The average sex trafficker, for instance, can make anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000 per victim per year. So it's about supply and demand. It is a business. They've just turned a human into the commodity. And unfortunately, it's one of the only businesses in the world that humans are also the consumer. So it's a human commodity and a human consumer. And so we're both the problem and the solution when it comes to human trafficking. And then the numbers is still in the millions when you come here to North America. And so we've got to really find a way to fight it both locally and globally, because it's very interconnected.
Jonathan, let's switch over to you. And when you talk about Rescue One Global, give us a little bit of just your vantage point in terms of how you describe the organization and your efforts.
So we do things both internationally and also domestically. We've got orphanages in the Philippines and the Thailand, where we work with locals there, teaching them that, hey, look, just because somebody offers you a job in America doesn't mean it's really the sweet offer that you think it is. There's danger that's associated with that. So we're doing education efforts there, internationally. Here locally, we do the same thing. We speak at local high schools. We do education events for hotel operators and hotel staff. We work with law enforcement, teaching them, hey, these are signs to look for with some of these victims. These are things that you can use to try and help them turn a case so that we can start investigations to start combating these traffickers and landing these guys in jail. We also do a lot of local outreach. I lead one of our local outreach teams here at a local motel here in the southeastern Nashville area, and we see somebody being trafficked every week that we go out. Yeah. We've developed some partnerships with some local organizations, and what we really try to do is we try to go build these people's trust and earn it, and then develop a relationship with them, and then we offer them a way out. And then here locally we have 2 safe houses, and we can take in minors, and we can also take in adults that have minors, and then we work on restoring them to being normalized human beings that can go back and function on their own again. So we're really doing a lot.
Just a side note to that, Jeremy, is that we operate currently the only licensed safe home in the state of Tennessee for children. And so when you look at even not just combating human trafficking, but the services that are there and available, we are literally the only person inside of our borders of our state, not just our city, not just our Middle Tennessee region, but the entire state of Tennessee. Wow. And that's why we really need people like cityCURRENT and other people to come alongside us to help us provide more restorative care for those that we're trying to love and serve.
What are some of the signs, like when you look at, that amount of individuals, but what to look for and how to help and be a proactive solution? What are some of the lessons learned or the ways that the community can be a better noticer to help you in your efforts to find those who are being trafficked?
Right. So it's a learned thing. You just got to spend time kind of in the environment. And our signs look very similar to other signs of other crimes or other types of abuse that have happened. And so quite often, like when Jonathan mentioned the police force, one of the things that we did a lot of training in the 2013, 14, 15 is trying to get them to realize, hey, you're actually coming in contact with trafficking victims, yet you're putting it off as domestic violence or just another different type of rape crime or addiction and drug use, like you're missing the point. And so the common community can miss it also. The other thing about red flags, though, is that trafficking doesn't have one red flag. It should have multiple red flags to it. So I actually encourage people to just Google red flags of human trafficking and get exhaustive lists to go through. And if you're getting 4 and 5 of those off of there, then you probably need to say something to someone. And so things like, they can't they don't have control of their own documentation, even their own ID. Maybe they don't carry their own money. Someone is talking for them. If any person under the age of 18 is providing any kind of sexual service that is considered human trafficking by definition and by our state, that is human trafficking. And so even though, I use this illustration all the time, your child, my child can't go to school and even without our permission and get a Tylenol. How could they consent to a sexual act, even if it is because they say they want to be there? And so that's a really good thing that the state of Tennessee now has. It's called, it's protecting those kids from actually being prosecuted as prostitution and other things, because really they can't make those choices for themselves. So
carry that forward on the legal side, the prosecution, the advocacy work, because a lot of this, when you talk about shutting it down, it's tougher laws going after them. And even on the economic side, shutting down the economics so that the money isn't there, which then, they find other ways, but it's like, if you shut down the money and the economics and you have tough sentencing and tough laws, that's where a lot of this can start in terms of shutting down the economy of it. Share a little bit of the advocacy work you guys are doing.
So there's multiple levels to your question, and we could spend all day just delving into 1 or 2 of those. But on the short side of that is that, yes, laws need to change. We in Tennessee do have some of the toughest laws on the books, but they need to be increased and they need to be expanded, and things like that need to happen all the time. And we're always looking for people who are in the political arena that want to come alongside and go, how can we do that? And so we work with those people. We also work with all the local prosecutors, from district attorneys to, U.S. Department of State that's here, or the U.S. attorneys that are here, in all the different regions, from Williamson County to Davidson County, Rutherford, Sumner County. We're working with all of them because they do want to put the bad guy away. If the bad guy doesn't go away, he just easily goes and gets someone else. And then it just becomes a vicious cycle. And so we can't rescue our way out of this problem. We can't just go out there and snatch girls off with the police and put them in a home and think that's going to solve the problem. We have to also address the issue of demand. And demand comes from labor trafficking is for cheap labor. We want cheap labor. We don't want to pay as much for things. And so we unknowingly every day use slaves. There's an organization out there that has a website. It's not ours, but it's called slaveryfootprint.org. And if you go to that, you can actually figure out how many slaves work for you on a daily basis. And I bet you, Jeremy, you would be extremely surprised at how many slaves you and your family have worked for you. Even us being very conscious of that, on the labor trafficking side, we have 50 to 60 slaves that work for us on a daily basis. Just understanding those business chains and where the products come from and how they get to us. Then you go on the sex trafficking side, and the demand for that is sexual addiction, pornography, all of those things drive that inside of our community. And, even the public health now says it's a public health crisis. Pornography is a public health crisis. And so we have to begin to deal with that. We have to begin to talk to our children earlier than we're doing. The world is now educating them on what sex is and what relationships should look like. And you as a parent should take it upon yourself to go, that's my job. I'm going to fight for my kid in this way. And you'll make your child less vulnerable to ever being trafficked if you'll have those open conversations with them. So it's both dealing with the demand side, but also the prevention side of educating and teaching our children what to look for and how to be aware, because the biggest tactic that's used today in our world, in our community and globally is technology. And I tell people all the time, I'm in my 40s. When I was growing up, it was stranger danger in the park, like don't talk to strangers. Well, now you're sitting in your living room watching your favorite TV show, and those predators are trolling the internet for your kids, and they're in the bedroom with your kid on their phone and on their tablet and on their Xbox. So we've got to do a better job of, one, educating the community, two, getting out on outreach, like Jonathan said, into these places where we know traffic victims are, and then advocating for them when the police and the district attorneys find them, and going to court with them, sitting with them, helping them find pro bono lawyers that can help fight for them, and getting that victim advocacy that they need for recovery.
Yeah. Jonathan, how can we get involved? So how can we help your efforts?
So there's a number of ways that you can do that. We're always looking for volunteers that as we go out and we do outreach. We have a lot of people tell us, hey, that sounds really scary. But look, there's a lot of levels to this. Basically what we do is we go out and we provide meals for some of these people. And that's how we strike up a relationship with them. So we have people that provide meals for us. We have some people that actually go out with us and do some of this outreach at some of the motels. Tomorrow night, I'll lead a team of 12 people. And it's kind of fun. We've developed long-term relationships with these folks, and they've gotten to where they expect us to be out there, rain, sleet, snow, or hail. And coming into the Christmas season, it gives us, some extra special time with these folks. We've also got some end of the year giving that's going on. We've got some matches that are taking place. So, if anybody wants to help support us financially, they can go to rescue1.org.
Rescue1global.org.
Thank you, Lacy. Rescue1global.org. And they can give there. We're looking for 1,000 champions that can help us monthly, give at least $50 a month, and that will revolutionize the way that we operate. We're currently dependent upon government grants, and we're trying to change the way we operate a little bit. If they want to come out and they want to donate get goods or anything like that we can give to some of these folks, that would be great as well. But we would love to have some champions that could help us fund this abolitionist movement as we move into 2022, and help us defeat this. I mean, human trafficking is an evil thing, and I've seen some things on outreach that I can never not see again. But I will be out there every week because these people are worth it. These people have value, and I mean, it's the same people that you and I went to high school with and grew up around and went to church with and shopped at the grocery store with. What I've learned in this process is that it can happen to absolutely anybody, and it's not a victimless crime. And I love these people just like God does, and we're going to go and we're going to pursue them, and we're going to do our best to save them and put these scumbags in jail that put them there. So but online giving and coming out and volunteering are the ways that they can easily join us, and they can also volunteer through the website.
Lacy, what would you add in terms of something you want everyone to know about Rescue One Global? So what's one more thing you want everyone to know?
We are really a local organization that is manned. We're a team-driven, team-led organization. There's not one person that just heads it out and directs. We are a small nonprofit, but we're making massive impacts. We've given over 4,000 safe bed nights to people, and just with a very small amount of money. Most of our people have been volunteers, nobody getting paid up until just recently when Jonathan's talking about this grant. And so right now, the amount of people that need help is astronomical. And our ability to help them is capped because we don't have enough partners and we don't have enough people that are fighting alongside of us. And we get tired and we really need people to come hold our arms up and go, all right, you need somebody, I'm just going to hold your arm and help you get through the day. And so you can find all of those things. We just launched a brand new website. It's really pretty, rescueoneglobal.org. And there's a needs list on there if you want to just give, like Jonathan said, monthly or a one-time gift. We have a big match going on right now, or just maybe your company wants to do a supply drive of underwear or socks or toiletries or anything like that. So there's a bunch of ways people can get involved, and that all of those ways fight trafficking, because we need every single one of you doing every single one of these different things. Don't think just because I can't do what Lacy does, just because I can't go on outreach, I can't fight trafficking. Just let us know you're interested, and we will help you determine how you can get in the fight to stop trafficking in your area and globally.
Yeah. Well, Lacy, Jonathan, love everything you're doing. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks,
We
Jeremy.
appreciate it.